There is a secret instant when men make a decision that changes everything, yet almost no woman notices when it happens. It's the exact second when attraction stops being impulse and becomes a choice. A moment so silent it seems invisible, yet so powerful it defines the future of any relationship. Many spend a lifetime trying to understand the male mind, unaware that the answer lies in the small behaviors that naturally awaken desire and pursuit. Today, we're opening this forbidden backstage, and nothing you believe about seduction will remain the same. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the insights that will transform the way you interact with men. Topic 1. The look that changes something inside him. There is always a silent instant when men notice something they can't even explain. It's when a woman's presence arrives unexpectedly, effortless, unposed, without that attempt at conquest so many women believe is necessary. He notices a simple gesture, maybe the way she adjusts her hair or steadies her own anxiety, and something shifts inside him. It's not explicit seduction, it's an attraction born in the details. And this is where emotional desire begins to wake up without warning. He doesn't immediately understand why that impact hits so strongly, but he feels it. It's as if a missing piece of his internal puzzle suddenly snaps into place. Men won't admit it, but they are deeply affected by small actions women barely notice. Sometimes all it takes is her saying a sincere, unfiltered sentence that reveals who she is when she's not trying to impress. That kind of authenticity sparks something in him he can't control. And that's exactly what makes him wonder, almost annoyed. Who is she, really? From that moment on, he starts noticing her more than he should. It's not a rational choice, it's a reaction. He tries to maintain his composure, but every gesture she makes seems to carry a force he didn't expect to feel in a relationship that doesn't even exist yet. Men are drawn to what creates emotional curiosity, and few things spark it as quickly as a woman who doesn't try to shape herself to please. He notices nuances, listens to silences, and reads behaviors she has no idea she's showing, and all of this only increases his desire to understand her presence. The most intriguing part is that this shift happens while he's still trying to pretend nothing has changed. He tells himself it's just admiration, maybe respect, maybe coincidence. But when a woman triggers that different look in him, something inside reorganizes. Attraction stops being only physical and becomes almost investigative, as if he were standing before a door he feels compelled to open. And this is where silent seduction begins. The kind no conquest strategy can artificially recreate. And while she continues her life, thinking nothing happened, he is already caught in a question he can't let go of. Men rarely confess this first impact, but it marks them. A spark that shifts perceptions, expectations, and even internal defenses. He tries to ignore it, but the more he tries, the stronger it becomes, and it's exactly this force that will lead to the next emotional movement, the one where he starts fighting against his own heart. But this is only the beginning. Topic 2. The moment he tests his own heart. When men realize something inside them has begun to change, their first reaction is usually the most predictable. They try to run. Not physically, emotionally. They convince themselves it's just an impression, that there's no reason to start a relationship, that they shouldn't feel desire for someone they barely know. But true attraction leaves us defenseless, and that's when he starts testing his own heart. He creates distance, replies shorter, pretends indifference, but he can't keep it up for long. And it's precisely during this distancing that she does something that completely dismantles his defenses, without even realizing it. Maybe she helps someone on the street. Maybe she smiles with a kind of sweetness that has nothing to do with the game of seduction. Maybe she genuinely encourages another woman. Men are deeply moved by actions that reveal character, not performance. And when this happens, he feels that internal resistance melt, as if he were fighting against a feeling that has already won. He realizes he's trying to deny the inevitable. This is the moment when he starts feeling uncomfortable with his own lie. He tries to go on with his life normally, but everything seems to point him back to her. The pull toward her stops being a choice and becomes an emotional disturbance, almost a silent urgency. He notices he thinks about her at random times, in meetings, in traffic, in situations that would only make sense if she were there. Men pretend they're in control until they realize they aren't anymore, and that terrifies them. But what truly disarms a man is her naturalness. It's not the heels, it's not the red lipstick, it's the small gestures that break down any attempt he makes to deny the attraction. When a woman is herself, without trying to manipulate emotions, she awakens in him a kind of admiration that borders on discomfort. He knows he's lost when he realizes her presence brings both calm and chaos at the same time. And it's exactly within this paradox that the first sign of emotional surrender is born. He realizes that despite all attempts to distance himself, he keeps being pulled back toward that feminine energy that doesn't force, doesn't pressure, doesn't demand. This is when he understands. It's not her insisting, it's his own heart calling. And although he still tries to resist, he begins to wonder whether it's worth fighting something that is clearly growing. It's in this instant that the key to the next step appears, the moment when he finally discovers who she truly is. Topic 3. The situation that reveals who she really is. There is always a turning point, the moment when men stop seeing only aesthetics and begin to see essence. And it happens unexpectedly. He watches her in an ordinary situation, maybe defending someone who was humiliated, helping an elderly woman with heavy bags, or speaking a truth most people would be afraid to say. Women don't realize the impact of this, but for a man, it's like witnessing the revelation of rare character. Attraction shifts in intensity. The heart, once confused, begins to align. In this moment, he realizes she isn't just someone who awakens desire or seduction. She is someone who carries values, and men have a hidden sensitivity to that. When they see a woman choose truth even when it brings discomfort, or act with strength when it would be easier to retreat, something inside them reorganizes. He understands he's in front of someone who doesn't play games to conquer, who doesn't wear masks to maintain a relationship. That authenticity touches places in him he didn't even know were asleep. And that's when the silent comparison begins. He remembers stories from his past, the superficial relationships, the encounters that never created real connection. He notices that nothing he has lived compares to the emotional impact she creates without trying. Her gesture, simple, spontaneous, real, marks him more than any conquest strategy others have attempted. Men don't fall in love with the extraordinary, they surrender to the genuine, and she, without realizing it, has just shown exactly that. Seeing that quiet strength in her, he feels an almost instinctive urge to get closer, not to conquer, but to understand. He watches how she treats people, how she reacts to injustice, how she maintains dignity even when she's vulnerable. This contrast creates an attraction that transcends the physical and touches a man's soul in a profound way. He feels he is in the presence of a woman who doesn't need to shine to be seen. She only needs to be herself. And that is emotionally overwhelming. It is in this exact instant that his heart decides for him. Before his mind can admit it, he has already chosen. Men rarely notice when this click happens, but once it does, it's irreversible. He begins to see her as someone unlike anyone else, someone who deserves to be cared for, protected, prioritized. And it's precisely this silent decision of the heart that opens the door to the next movement, the moment when he starts choosing her internally, long before he ever says a word. Topic 4. The instant he chooses her in silence. When men choose a woman in silence, they almost never notice the exact second it happens. It's something internal, subtle, deep. He starts protecting her with small gestures, almost imperceptible to other women, but obvious to anyone who understands male psychology. He begins checking whether she arrived safely, whether she's comfortable, whether she needs anything. It isn't conquest, it isn't seduction, it's care. And for a man, care is always a sign of true attraction. He changes his behavior without announcing anything. He replies with more attention, listens with more presence, and tries to ease the weight of things she doesn't even talk about. Men don't express feelings with speeches. They express them with actions. And those actions reveal that he is already prioritizing her emotionally. He starts noticing the details of her mood, realizes when she forces a smile, identifies when her desire isn't to be conquered, but to be respected. And he offers that before he even realizes he's offering it. This silent process is a powerful shift. He becomes more consistent, more present, even while pretending everything is the same. Men only change their routine for someone who truly touched their heart. He doesn't say, "I'm here," but he shows up. He doesn't say, "I care," but he demonstrates it. For other women, it may seem confusing. For her, it's almost instinctive to recognize this movement. His presence stops being casual and starts carrying emotional meaning, even though neither of them says a word about it. And the more he observes, the more he notices her pains, insecurities, and the quiet courage he has never seen in another relationship. This makes him want to offer emotional protection, stability, and a safe space, not because she asked, but because his heart asked for her. The male instinct to care, when activated by one specific woman, is an invisible milestone. He hasn't admitted the feeling yet, but he behaves as if he already had. And that behavior doesn't go backward. This is exactly where something new begins to grow, the internal decision that she is the one, even before he ever says it out loud. He starts choosing her without words, only with presence. But this silent decision still needs a real test, a situation that forces him to act, to take a stance, to show that she isn't just someone important, but the priority. And this brings us to the decisive moment where his actions confirm what his heart has known from the very beginning. Topic 5. The action that confirms she is the chosen one. There comes a moment when men can no longer hide behind silence. Life creates circumstances that demand a stance, and that's when he shows who he truly is. It may be an unfair situation where she is exposed, a verbal attack, a cruel criticism, or even an emotional risk she doesn't notice. In that instant, he doesn't think twice. He steps forward, takes the lead, defends her clearly and decisively. Attraction becomes action. Desire becomes protection. Conquest becomes commitment. This action is not theatrical, it's instinctive. He acts because he couldn't bear to watch her face that alone. Men only expose their chest for women who touch their emotional core. And when he decides to let go of pride, silence, or distance to defend her, something definitive happens. He reveals himself. Maybe not with grand words, but with gestures any perceptive woman recognizes. It's the kind of attitude that transforms a relationship before it even officially exists. In some cases, this proof appears when he chooses to stay by her side during a vulnerable moment, when no one else does. He shows consistency, presence, loyalty. Men don't invest this kind of energy by accident. He takes emotional and sometimes even social risks to make it clear she is a priority. It's when he says, "I'm staying," even if it costs him time, comfort, or reputation. That gesture is worth more than 1,000 rehearsed lines of seduction. What's most striking is that this action comes from the heart, not from strategy. He isn't trying to convince her of anything or score points. He is showing, without saying, that she is the woman he chose. Men choose first in silence, then they prove it through action. And when that proof appears, there is no room for doubt. It's the moment a woman realizes something has changed for good, that the relationship is no longer a possibility, but an emotional truth. And so, he confirms what he had been building in the backstage of his own heart. It is no longer curiosity, nor simply attraction, nor just desire. It is decision, a mature, firm, sensitive choice, the proof that seals the feeling. And although this marks the end of the logical progression, it is only the beginning of something much greater. Because when a man decides a woman is the chosen one, his entire emotional story begins to rewrite itself around that encounter. Nothing ever goes back to the way it was. In the end, everything comes down to a choice men make in silence. A choice so many women overlook while searching for loud, obvious signs. The truth is simple. A man reveals who you are to him through the actions he takes when no one is watching. And now that you understand the exact moment when attraction becomes a decision, what will you do with this power? How will you transform your relationship, your conquest, your desire? The male mind is not a mystery. It's a map. And you've just been given the key. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and keep diving into these secrets.